Hello, this is Kirk Lewis. This is the March installment on our YouTube video, the new series that we announced a couple of weeks ago. I said then that the next installment, today's section, would be about the state budget. So I want to talk a little bit about that process, why it's important, and how our friends can help us as we move through the month of March and into April. So the state budget is important because it's how we get funded. It's, plain and simple, that's where our funding comes from. 90% of our revenue comes from Medicaid funding that's controlled by the state. So when our costs go up, we can't raise our prices. We get paid what the state pays us. And the state determines that from the budget. So we look every year at the budget, we advocate, we educate, we try to encourage the state to do what's right, and we're in the middle of that process right now. So many of you may be familiar with this, but in brief, the way the process works is that the governor proposes a budget. She presents that to the legislature in January. The legislature then has several months, 2 months, 3 months, to take that budget and come up with their own, to modify it, and by April 1st, the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor are supposed to agree on what the budget for the state of New York is from April 1st this year of 23 through March 31st of 24. So that's how the process works. After the governor presents her budget, the Senate and the Assembly, they have their own priorities. They may agree with some of hers, they may disagree. They put together what we call their one house bills. The Senate proposes a budget and the Assembly proposes a budget. So this year, the governor proposed in her budget a small, relatively small cost of living adjustment for our field, a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. Now, everyone knows inflation has been strong. Our costs have gone up. We were advocating, before the governor presented her budget, for an 8.5%. That number is tied to an economic index that was used in the past to set our cost of living adjustments. Unfortunately, prior administrations have ignored that. They, in the last 12 years, we've really only had one significant increase, and that came last year. That was a 5.4% increase. We had 1% 1 year before that and a fraction of a percent one other year for the total of the 12 years prior. So we've been squeezed, we've been starved for funds, and we've been struggling to pay our workers what they deserve. And the way we do it is through the state budget process. So when the governor announced her budget and her proposed 2.5% increase, we were disappointed. We thought that she was supportive and would provide more. She didn't. We worked with our legislators, we talked to the Assembly, we talked to the Senate. Many of you helped us advocate. And the Senate and Assembly one-house budget bills just came out this week. Both the Senate and the Assembly put an 8.5% cost of living adjustment in their proposals. So that's great. So that's where the negotiations start. And from now until the budget is passed, which will be sometime around the 1st of April, the focus has to be on making sure our legislators stay with what they proposed, and we've got to talk to the governor, we've got to send her letters, we've got to send her emails, we've got to telephone her, let her know that our field desperately needs that 8.5% cost of living adjustment. Many people don't know this, but the state operates programs that are basically identical to what we operate. The state gave themselves a raise this year, and they're paying their workers about 50% more than what we can pay our workers with our rates. So we are fighting for parity. We are fighting for the survival of our system, and we're fighting for our workforce who deserve to be paid at a level equal to the state. 8.5% won't get us there, but it's a great start. It'll help us keep up with inflation. It'll help us make adjustments that will help our workforce. And just as a reminder, that is money that gets spent right in the local economies. That money goes right back to the food, to childcare, to insurance, to all the things that our 500 employees spend in their local economies. So it's a great investment in the state. It's a great investment in our system of supports and services. So you can help us if you are so inclined. Please, we'll post an email address where you can, or a web address where you can find out how to contact people, how to send a letter, how to send a message to the governor. Thank you for your attention, and we'll talk to you again in April. We'll let you know how the budget came out, and we'll let you know what's next. Thanks.